SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. Sports Marketing Now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Sports Marketing Now. I'm Holly Koski, and Sports Marketing Now talks about all of the latest news in the sports marketing world from the week. And today we have Darin White out of Samford University and Will Yoder out of Octagon. Hey guys, how are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Good. Darin, we'll start with you first. Introduce yourself.
All right. Yeah. My name again is Darin White, and I am the program coordinator for the sports marketing program in the Brock School of Business at Samford University, which is in Birmingham, Alabama, a college football crazy town. And so we're really excited about the program that we have. I have the honor of working with a lot of young people that want to work in the world of sports marketing when they graduate. And so I have the opportunity to mentor them and really prepare them for their future careers in sports marketing.
Great. And Will, how about you?
I'm Will Yoder. I'm the digital lead with Octagon Athletes and Personalities. So we are the talent side of Octagon, and I am in charge of all digital strategy for our athletes. So we represent hundreds of athletes across the globe, ranging from Michael Phelps to Stephen Curry to Rudy Gay. And specifically, I'm looking at ways that our athletes can either grow their following, monetize their following, or create strategic partnerships with different startups.
Well, thank you both for coming on. I know first time for both of you to be on the show, so we're excited to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
For sure. All right, so starting off with the first topic, obviously Final Four ended last night. Louisville beating Michigan in what turned out to be a phenomenal game. But Darin, you're actually at the Final Four. Can you tell me about some great interactions that you saw, on the premises?
Yeah, it was my first Final Four. So fortunately, Atlanta is only a couple of hours from Birmingham, so I was able to go over for the event, and it was really my first time to see a big time basketball game in a large stadium like that. I've been to a lot of SEC championship games and different events in the Georgia Dome, but for a basketball game, it was unique, and it was a little different than I expected, but yet I still enjoyed it a lot. The crowd was just so loud, and the energy was just amazing for a college basketball game.
Yeah, it's definitely different having it, in the Georgia Dome where it's almost all on one plane instead of kind of, the higher up stadiums. But so did you see any great activations as far as, company sponsorships or even companies that weren't necessarily a sponsor?
Yeah, well, I actually saw both. Coca-Cola is one of the major sponsors of the Final Four, and they were promoting Coke Zero, their product at the Final Four, and they had a number of things they did. For example, during every game, they would have the fans text who they thought was going to win the game, and by doing that, then they would ask for your birth date. So they were able to collect some interesting information that way, and then if your team won, you would get they would send you a code for a free 20-ounce Coke Zero. So that was kind of interesting. I even brought back my cup. There's my cup from the Final Four right there. I don't know if you can see it, but they got the Coke Zero logo on there, and so they had that going on. Then when we left, they were giving away free Coke Zero, so they were activating that way. So I thought they were pretty effective in really promoting the brand, Coke Zero, which was interesting. And then Capital One was another one of them, and they actually gave away seat cushions, if you can see that, and they had the Capital One logo on there, and they did a number of other things, which was fun as well. So those were the official sponsors. But then as I was walking up, as we were getting closer to the Georgia Dome, we ran into there was a company called Totino's, which is a pizza roll company, and they were activating outside the Georgia Dome, outside the premises of the protected zone. And I thought they did a very effective job of some ambush marketing. They had a DJ, that was really fun, and he was playing music, and they were offering free pizza rolls, and they had they had the pretty girls there that were trying to get the guys to come over and try out the pizza rolls, and then they would give you a free ride on the Totino's little golf cart to the game if you wanted to, and it's just really is I thought a very effective ambush marketing opportunity that they took advantage of. So.
Yeah, who doesn't love, free pizza samples, especially the college student demographic? So obviously that's probably one of their main, target audiences, and there's a ton of students there, obviously. So that sounds really like a really great idea. I love that you brought props on the show. I think you're the first guest to bring props, so good job on that. Throwing it now to Will, what did you notice just on the digital side as far as ad placements or social media activation?
Sure. As Darin mentioned, I think the corporate sponsors, all three of them did a really good job. Coke Zero especially, they had a buyout on the March Madness CBS player with the tagline, "It's not your fault," which I think is perfect because everybody on Thursday and Friday was sitting in front of their computer hoping their boss wouldn't walk by. So to kind of play on that theme of that guilty pleasure, I think was really smart for them. But throughout the tournament, they did a good job as well. You could tell that on the ground they're doing a good job, as Darin mentioned, giving people things to be happy about, and in return, people shared that on social media. So they did a good job of leveraging new fans that they made on the ground at March Madness. AT&T also did a really good job using content to push their stuff. The commercials they had with March Madness legends was great, with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and the others. I think distributing that content is really important. A lot of times around major events like the Super Bowl, March Madness, World Series, you see brands that want to activate on social, and they're trying to build a conversation using a hashtag, but there's no content to really push it. So if I see a commercial that has nothing to do with the game or nothing to do with my affinity with college basketball, I'm probably less likely to go use that hashtag than if I watch this funny AT&T commercial with all the memories I have with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Bill Russell. Also, Capital One did the same exact thing as AT&T. They had good content around the talent that they procured. I think, all three of them really hit it out of the park in their digital activation.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the Coke Zero. I thought that was brilliant, especially, the lady in the office kind of rising outside of her cubicle like she's the winner, 5-time winner. And obviously with the kids, also the AT&T, them just kind of talking about basketball and stuff like that was pretty cute. But moving on now to the Masters. This is like the greatest sports week of the year, in my opinion, at least. But the Masters starting up on Thursday, and some great marketing initiatives going on at arguably, golf's biggest event all year, particularly Izod. Izod is getting back into the golf game with 3 players that they're endorsing, most notably U.S. Open champion Webb Simpson. And they're trying to do a big splash in terms of hospitality and marketing. And they are partnering up with Maxim to do kind of an event prior to the tournament starting, and having a social media hub where bloggers and reporters can do their thing on social media. So in your opinion, I'll start with Darin first, but between the sponsorship of Webb Simpson and this new activation, do you think this is a good start in terms of revitalizing their brand?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea. They've historically have been tied to golf, that brand back way back, and so they're clearly reaching out for a younger audience. They're trying to reach a younger audience with this approach. That 18 to 35 year range, and they're doing that with who they're sponsoring. It reminds me a lot of what Cadillac did a few years ago, where they try to revitalize their brand and make their brand a younger brand, more relevant for the younger audience. And I think that's what we see happening here as well. This is not your dad's Izod. In other words, it's a new day has dawned, and that's really what they're trying to say with this activation.
Yeah, I love that point about Cadillac. Will, what are your thoughts?
I mean, coming from a sports agency, of course I want to like the fact that they're leveraging talent.
Right.
But I think that, talent is a good way to brand yourself, because you're branding yourself with another person. And especially if they're looking for youth, they want somebody that's going to represent the culture that they're trying to really, infiltrate. I think the social media hub is a great idea, especially if you look at how golf tournaments are broadcasted. It's very traditional. It's very slow. It's very quiet. And I think if you want to attract the younger viewer, you're going to have to circumvent that. And a good way is to have a branded social media hub. So if people are following the tournament on social as opposed to on television, they're going to be seeing the branding of Izod because people are going to naturally be talking about the hub that they're in. So I think it's a really good way to, change the way that people are viewing a sports, but have an Izod wrap around it in a much cheaper way than buying the broadcast rights.
Yeah,
right.
and if I don't your mind, I'll add. I've had students of mine. Last summer, I had one of my students that was a social media correspondent at the PGA, and and so that's become the major golf tournaments are really, I think, doing a good job of utilizing social to promote not just the sponsors but also the sport as a whole.
And going back to kind of using players or athletes as part of your marketing strategy, TaylorMade is actually have a new campaign. It's called Rocket Ballsier, part of their Rocket Balls clubs that they have just created, their R2 model, which they claim is 10 yards longer than last year's version, which they claim could get golfers up to 17 additional yards. And, they've come up with a number of TV spots, starting with the tournament at Darin, with their players having their bags with the IER on their bags and on their hats as the Rocket Ballsier. Will, I'll go to you on this one because, again, it's the athlete side, but is this like good marketing or is it confusing to the fan as far as what the brand is?
Sure, it's certainly interesting. I think you can look at it from two ways, whether confusing is good or bad. It can be good if they've never heard of it and then they go to Google, why does it say this? It's a very odd thing to see. Then they find out about what TaylorMade is doing. So there is a benefit there. But I do think you have a point that if they don't know what's going on with that campaign, it could just look confusing, and some people may not be interested enough to go look. As a sports marketing buff, I obviously would go look, but maybe not everybody will. But I think in general, when you're looking to activate around talent, you want to find a way to mesh that talent's image with the image that you want to portray. And the only issue I would have with this is it looks like they're trying to stamp the image they want to portray onto the talent as opposed to merging the two.
No, that's a good point. And they use a variety of golfers. Obviously, TaylorMade's one of the major brands of the sport.
Sure.
But Darin, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. When I first looked at this campaign, I was not familiar with the campaign from last year, and so it didn't resonate with me. I had to really think about it a little bit and do a little bit of reading to figure out what they were really trying to say. Because what they're saying, in essence, is that they introduced a new version last year that was great, and now they've made it even better. And that's in essence what they're trying to communicate. But if you're not familiar with last year's campaign, then it all gets lost. And so, and I agree with what Will said as well about the campaign it's a little edgy. It's got some humor involved, and it fits with some of the golfers, but it doesn't fit with some of the other golfers that are there. So I wonder about the effectiveness of that.
I think if they may have used a more universal term than Zier, which is funny, but if they said ex-athlete plus or something like that, it may have been a little bit easier to understand.
Right. You could definitely tell from the commercial that we just showed. Some players were into it as far as kind of the humor aspect, and some were really not really having it. And, obviously that could be played up as well, too. But very interesting point. But they must be doing something right because, 2002 sales for them was really great. Sales of drivers and fairway woods were up 21%. Irons up 32%, and footwear up 19%. So they are killing it in terms of marketing, whether that be effective or not. Moving on to now a kind of a cool topic that's really starting to make a splash in the industry, and that's the teasing of new uniform designs. And the Minnesota Vikings are actually using social media to kind of, give a little teaser and a little preview of what the design process was like and what ultimately the jersey will look like. And fans can interact with the Vikings online, whether that be through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And the more they interact, the more points they get. And then you can unlock, I guess, a preview. There's a preview right there, but you can unlock the preview if you amass a certain number of points. So, and then what are your guys' thoughts on that as far as kind of embracing social media in terms of, revealing a secret that sometimes is not very well kept? Darin, I'll go with you first.
Sure. It reminds me of there's a saying that goes, you can't lead a horse to water. That is, you can't lead a horse to water unless you salt his oats. And in essence, that's what they're doing. They're salting the oats. They're teasing us just a little bit to make us want a little bit more. And so I think it's a brilliant idea. And not only the Minnesota Vikings, but I think you might be going to talk in a minute about how Chelsea's doing the same thing over in jolly old England. And I actually had some of my students. I coached the soccer team at one of the soccer teams at Samford, and I had some of my soccer players watch the Chelsea ad and ask them what they thought. And would they be willing maybe to purchase the jersey even though they haven't seen it yet at all? Would they be willing to do that? And they loved it. They thought it was a really neat, cutting-edge idea, and were very, very willing to potentially make that purchase. And so that it was effective, at least with that audience.
Yeah, bringing up, that's a great segue into Adidas and Chelsea are doing this as well with, their new jersey kit, as they like to say in England. Yeah. And it's an incredible minute-and-a-half video where you never see any Chelsea, memorabilia or anything like that. It's just all about blue, their signature color. And they got some really great athlete participation with this whole shoot here. Will, what are your thoughts on this as well?
Well, specifically with the Chelsea, I think you would say it's not just all about blue. I think that commercial was very much just all about blue and all about new. Those are the only two themes that were really portrayed in that,
right?
Which I think is what they were trying to get across there. But I think anytime you talk about changing a uniform, it can be sometimes controversial, right? Fans don't always adopt right away to the new uniform. The instant reaction sometimes is negative. So anytime you're using social to build that anticipation, there's a double-edged sword, right? One side, you're getting a lot of people talking about your new jersey, which is great. And, specifically with what the Vikings are doing, they're finding their influencers and really utilizing them. But on the flip side, if you build a lot of anticipation and the product is disappointing, then it's worse than if you just unveiled it on a, Thursday afternoon.
Right. No, the Vikings have definitely gotten a lot of pub on Reddit in terms of, people trying to figure out kind of clues and things like that. But as far as the Chelsea jersey is concerned, I want to buy a jersey now, and I'm not even a Chelsea fan, just because it was just so artfully done, and you really haven't seen anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see if, brands such as Nike or Adidas, Nike's really great with their jersey unveils, but if they start using this kind of cinematography in the future. So it's interesting, too, that your students liked this commercial as well.
Yeah, they one of the comments they made, a couple of them talked about, was the fact that they felt like they would be the first to actually, when they had it, that no one else had seen it yet, and they would actually be the one revealing it to their friends and to the campus, and then that was a neat aspect as well, that they would be the first to get to see it because they had ordered it and all that. And this was coming from Chelsea fans and non-Chelsea fans.
Interesting. So it's more the uniqueness of being the one with the uniform as opposed to actually liking the uniform.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's I think that's the idea.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And Darin, I know you mentioned your students, and you have a great new sports marketing program over at Samford. And we are going to play just a minute clip of what your program is all about here. So there we go.
The thing that is important to me when it comes to sports marketing is the idea of understanding what the possibilities may be, because I think they're endless. But you can't do that without the basic tools. You have to understand all the basic tools that go into it, whether it's sponsorship, whether it's basic business, whether it's relationships that sponsors have. All those things have to be in your little tool kit before you're going to be able to enter our world. Where sports is going to go, ultimately, we have not begun to scratch the surface.
So that's a little bit about Samford, the sports marketing program. Darin, you want to talk briefly about it?
Sure, yeah, thanks. That was Rich McKay, who's the president and CEO of the Atlanta Falcons, and he's on our advisory board, and we're really excited because we got a lot of neat folks on our advisory board like Rich that are committed to helping our students, get placed in the world of sports and really give us a lot of great advice to make sure that the curriculum that we have is spot on for training our students. And so yeah, we're really excited about the program. And again, we're one of only 10 accredited business schools in the nation that has a program like this. And we modeled our program after the one at the University of Oregon, out on the, out near, they have one in conjunction with Nike out on the West Coast. And so we're really excited about it. We're launching the program in the fall and excited about helping students achieve their dream of working in the world of sports marketing.
Well, great. It looks like a great program. And thank you, Will. Thank you, Darin, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And you'll definitely have to be on future shows because that was some great content. And thank you for joining us today. You can find us all week on sportsbusinessnow.com or on Twitter @SBNow. We'll see you next time.
SBN, Sports Business Now.